One.
Okay.
Bush Senior declaring war on Saddam Hussein for the first time. And for the first time, seeing it live. I mean, up until then, war was something that happened somewhere over there. You didn't kind of see it. I mean, if you think about Vietnam and USA, it wasn't until you started seeing it, when the body bags coming back, etc.
The live video or the video coverage.
When you started to actually see it, that's when people needed to know and needed to stop it. So now go forward 20 years or so, and you're actually seeing the bombings going on and the planes flying and the fireballs live on CNN, and it was amazing.
Speaking of all this, you worked in the World Trade Center.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you were working for an IT company,
Mm-hmm.
and what exactly you were bringing people over?
Yep.
And so, I mean, now, you know, your office is long gone, but what do you think about the happenings of 9/11, knowing that, you know, you were in there working, and now it's just gone?
We'd moved out of there sometime before. We'd moved the office up onto Broadway because we'd bought another business and we'd put the two together. But World Trade Center was a big part of one's life. And when it happened, Sid was... How old was Sid? She would have been about 7.
She would have been like first grade.
And we were out on a field trip out near McCullum Airport. There's a quarry.
Mm-hmm.
And
over in Kennesaw?
I'm sorry?
Over in Kennesaw?
Yeah. And so we're out there absolutely not knowing anything that was going on when suddenly one of the parents got a phone call that said what was happening.
Mm-hmm.
And we all were told just to go home. And you went home, and of course the first thing you do is turn
the TV on,
and you see the fire in the first building, and then, my God, when that second plane. And you just sat there,
wondering what's going on,
just mesmerized. You could see, and you heard the TV people saying, "Oh, there were birds and things," but no, and then you realize it was people jumping, and you didn't want your kid to see this stuff. But again, we're talking about how amazingly wonderful America is. Maybe 4 days after, very shortly after, I'm sitting in Atlanta, and I said to Jennifer, Sid's mum, I'm going to New York. She said, what for? Why are you going to New York? I said, because if people stop flying, and if they don't go to New York, they've won. They'll have achieved putting the fear of God up and people traveling and going there. So I'm going there. And I caught a flight, and there weren't many people on it.
I guess not.
And I went to visit, because I wasn't working then. I went to visit our new office, which was about a mile away from. And
covered in dust?
Oh, it literally, it was, you could do that, it was just covered.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole office was still in shell shock. But I walked down to the site, and already they were selling souvenirs. You know, the street vendors?
Yeah.
And it was wonderful. No, it was back to normal. It was a wonderful indication that, you know, this had happened, and it was traumatic, and it was horrible, but that New York was saying, hey, this is New York.
Yeah, and
We'll deal with it. And from then on, it's taken them a long time, and they could have done it a bit quicker, but it was an amazing indication of just how resilient people in America are.
Mm-hmm. Okay, wow. So, out of all of this, your entire life up to now, which historic event do you think has caused the most change in your life?
The most change? Well, up until early teens, nothing. It was what it was. You couldn't affect any change yourself. I guess 9/11, because it made so many differences to what you did in terms of traveling.
Mm-hmm. You saw the earthquake and you knew it was going on.
That was local.
But
that didn't affect anybody else. That was just happening in San Francisco.
You've worked in the World Trade Center. I know you weren't there when 9/11 happened, but knowing that I was there, it
could have happened.
It could have happened.
Yeah.
It made it so much more realistic. So it really hit close to home.
It did that, but it also changed your life after that. But America is very strange. It really is.
Oh, yeah.
Well, people say to me, is it better or... No, it's just different. But, for instance, up until 9/11, you could get on a plane without any security whatsoever. In fact, you could put your bags on a plane from the curbside and not even get on the plane. Right? Whereas in Europe, you couldn't, if you put your bags onto a plane and you didn't get on the plane, that plane didn't take off. And when you were given your boarding pass, you would have to show your passport, your ID, to get on that plane. And if you were ticketed to get on and you didn't get on, the plane didn't go. You couldn't take your ticket and give it to somebody else, your boarding pass. Mm-hmm. Over here, you could do anything. Suddenly 9/11 happened.
Everything changed.
Everything. And it wasn't just...
security.
It was overly done. You have this... in America, you tend not to do anything about something until you have to do it, usually because something has happened. And then there's an overreaction. But that's America.
What? Our overreaction being now we have some of the strictest policies for flying
Yes.
in the world.
Yes.
Well...
And other little things, like when the police go and raid a house, there's 16 people with guns raiding the house and killing 82-year-old women that are sitting there not knowing what the hell's going on. Kind of an overreaction to things. Whereas if you think about what happened in England with the bombings 5 years ago, people just carried on. They got on the trains again, and the police had arrested everybody within 24 hours.
Keep calm and carry on.
Exactly. Keep calm and carry on.
Well, it has been an excellent interview. I've had a wonderful time asking you these questions, and I hope that everything keeps on going.
Trucking.
Keeps on trucking.
It's a wonderful country.
Yes.
It's totally screwed up right now. Just this week it's been totally screwed up.
But I guess we've followed the advice of some of your people, and I guess we've tried to keep calm and just keep on going.
I'm not sure. This thing in the Supreme Court this week is really surprising that suddenly they're saying that a minority right to vote is an entitlement, and that really scares me. That behind that there is still this divide. When a Supreme Court justice can actually say that, it's kind of scary. Historically, because this is a history class that you're taking. Selma was only, 50 years ago? Nothing. and it still lingers a bit, scarily. But there we are.
Well, I appreciate you letting me ask you these questions today, and I appreciate you letting me borrow your time. Well, thank you very much, and it's been a wonderful experience.
Look after my daughter.
I will. All right. Thank you.
That was fun. Thanks.